Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion, and the fit for this video is Wolverine in his correct uniform. Let's take a look at a video.
And so they had us read, what is it that the founders read? Who are the philosophers they read?
All right, let's see it.
Oh, by the way, the number one document they referred to when they were trying to figure out what kind of a country we should be, guess what? The Bible. Oh, you are all geniuses in this room. I wish I could have been half as smart as all of you.
So this is a falsehood. This is a misrepresentation based on a misunderstanding of research that was published in 1984 by Donald Lutz in the journal The American Political Science Review. And the paper is here, The Relative Influence of European Writers on Late 18th Century American Political Thought. And the first sentence of the abstract explains what they're doing. Drawing upon a comprehensive list of political writings by Americans published between 1760 and 1805. And here you can see their methodology for how they identified and selected what they were looking at. But people misunderstand all the writings by Americans from what the author calls the founding era to mean all of the founding fathers' publications. But it was much broader than that. It was all publicly published writing that in any way, shape, or form was relevant to politics. And an awful large chunk of this included sermons. So the overwhelming majority of the references to the Bible actually come from sermons published as pamphlets or published in newspapers. So this is the table that everyone looks at when they cite this, to see that starting in the 1770s and then all the way through to 1805, the Bible takes the lion's share of the citations. But again, this is primarily because of sermons that were being published as pamphlets and in newspapers. This is not because the founding fathers used the Bible more than any other text. And I think one of the most instructive tables from this article is this one, which shows the distribution of citations between Federalists and Anti-Federalists between 1787 and 1788, which was the 2 years when the Constitution was being hammered out. Notice that the citation of the Bible among Federalists dropped to a muscular 0. Anti-Federalists managed to cite the Bible in 9% of their citations. And the author talks about this in their discussion. You can see starting in the third sentence here, the Bible's prominence disappears, which is not surprising since the debate centered upon specific institutions about which the Bible had little to say. The Anti-Federalists do drag it in with respect to basic principles of government, but the Federalists' inclination to Enlightenment rationalism is most evident here in their failure to consider the Bible relevant. In other words, when it came time to actually create a government, the people who created our Constitution didn't use the Bible at all, didn't appeal to the Bible at all, because the Bible has no relevance to the creation of our government. The Anti-Federalists quoted it, and I have long held that most of the people on the far right of American politics today would have hated the Constitution if they were around in the late 18th century. They would have been Anti-Federalists, and they would have fought tooth and nail against the Constitution, even as they hold it up today as something that is quasi-inspired or totally inspired scripture. So in short, Michele Bachmann does not understand and probably hasn't even read this research or its conclusions. And had she been around in the late 18th century and had the founding fathers actually cared at all what any women had to say, she most likely would have supported the Anti-Federalists and would have been a fierce opponent of the Constitution.